get to the bag, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy, ayy. Let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by Revenova, the official TMS provider for the Freight Coach. You guys, I've been a broker for a long time, and the tools that are at your disposal with Revenova help you eliminate bouncing between systems, which improves your accuracy when you are managing multiple tasks throughout your workday. Plus, it's built into the Salesforce cloud, so your CRM is fully integrated with your TMS, eliminating yet another silo. In today's day and age, you are definitely concerned about the safety of your data. With Revenova, it's fully protected. They have cutting-edge security that keeps your information safe so you can focus on what matters most, and that's growing your business. Speaking of growing your business, with Rate and Lane IQ, you get real-time pricing and route recommendations, helping you optimize costs and improve operational efficiencies, which ultimately helps you make smarter decisions. If you are like me and have recurring shipments from non-EDI customers, they have intuitive cloning features that let you easily replicate previous shipments, saving both shipper and carrier rates with just a few taps. If you are ready to learn more, visit www.revenova.com to request a demo. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agent success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Tuesday, everybody. And today is not going to be a transportation show at all, actually. You know, with it being Veterans Day out there, a couple of buddies of mine are going to be joining the show today. It's coming from, a good friend of mine a couple of months back jumped on after one of his former military friends, unfortunately, succumbed to his injuries out there. And we are, they're raising some money for him and everything. And we're going to be breaking down the reality of what our veterans go through. It goes a little bit further than thank you for your service, although that is seemingly very appreciated out there. But like, what more can we do as a country for them? So I have Luke Flatebo and Cole Rush on the show today to just break everything down. So fellas, thank you guys so much for taking the time to join me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Chris.
No, I appreciate your guys' time on this and really bringing awareness. And, when we were chatting yesterday, you guys were saying that it's been a long time since, you guys had even, you, Luke and Cole had even talked. And, it's like, here we are. And I know when Matt Parker he reached out to me about all of this stuff with Sergeant Murphy and was kind of just talking to me about that. And, he was breaking a lot of it down to me. He's like, man, this is the first time I've heard, and spoke to a bunch of these guys that were in your guys' unit out there. And, before we get into any of that stuff, like, Luke, we'll start with you. Like, what brought you into the military? What was it about the military? Was it like a calling? Was it a family legacy? What was it that brought you in?
Yeah. Hey, Chris, appreciate the question and really appreciate you and your community for embracing Veterans Day and having this discussion. I can tell you, without the logistics community, our nation would absolutely cripple. So just want to thank you. No, I'll tell you, I'm a third generation Marine, right? And that's all I wanted to do. My grandfather served in the Korean War, and my father served in the Marine Corps and then went into the Army. So that's what I knew what I wanted to do. Right in high school, went into the Marine Corps, went to MCRD San Diego, did that for 4 years. And while in the Marine Corps, I met my wife, who just so happened to be in the Army. So I transitioned from my beloved Marine Corps. And oh, by the way, all the Marines and devil dogs out there, Semper Fi and happy birthday. It was the 250th birthday of the Marine Corps yesterday. But I did leave that, went into the Army and served in the Army for 4 years. Went to Korea. That's where Rush and I and Parker, we all served together. And then after that, went to Third ID and went to OIF 3. Upon return from OIF 3, I ended up getting out of the Army. So yeah, it was always a calling. Always wanted to do it. So thank you for asking.
No, absolutely. Cole, what about you?
I'm one of those guys that growing up, I've always thought that, had a great appreciation for our country. And it was one of those, put up or shut up things. I think that people should be afforded to join the military and to see what this great nation has to offer. And, I just decided to sign up. My grandfather served. But other than that, I'm the only one in my current family that has served. So I did that back in 2003. Joined, and first duty station was in South Korea, where Sergeant Flatebo was one of the non-commissioned officers in my platoon. Parker was also there. And after that, went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and served my remaining 3 years on active duty there. And after that, joined the United States Army Reserves for a couple years after that under the 8th Army CONUS, which is the Continental 8th Army. We oversaw the stuff stateside for the CONUS Army over in South Korea. So,
yeah, I look at it. I think that, because it's in today, and I'm going to try not to ramble on here a lot, but I know a lot of people, it seems like their pride in the United States or patriotism is only shown on today in the 4th of July, but it's every other day of the year is seemingly kind of forgotten. Right. And I think it's almost I don't know, for me, it's what does it even mean to be an American anymore? I know what it was growing up, right? It was a badge of honor to have the flag flying at your home. And being, everyone was proud to be an American. Nobody was afraid to even say it in public. And it's seemingly over these last, I don't know if it was 10 years or so, I stopped seeing the flag flown at a lot of people's homes, like it was when I was growing up. And people are almost wishy-washy about even wanting to openly say it. And excuse me, from my perspective, I fly it, I put it behind me every single day. I have it on all of my company's gear because I'm a firm believer. I couldn't do this in any other country in the world but here. And I feel from my perspective, it's I want to use my God-given rights to the fullest extent while I'm here on this earth. And I feel that is something I wish more people would really lean into, utilize these stuff, because it's I feel everything's so politically divisive in today's day and age. And it's I identify with the Constitution and that's it. The Bill of Rights, I identify with that over any political party out there, because I'm not going to get into any of that stuff on today's show, but it's I feel that's the thing that we need to embody and get back to. I'd love to get your guys' opinion on that. You guys see this probably in the experience, and it probably hits you guys a lot differently than it does more people.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and take this one for a little while, Cole, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So I'll tell you this, my father, like I said, he went from the Marine Corps to the Army. So when I was a young man, growing up, my father did deploy to Desert Storm, Desert Shield. And being around a military community, that's when I saw like the yellow ribbons and the American flags and going to the parades when they returned home. So I did see patriotism there, right? But right outside of that community, I rarely saw it. I didn't see it when we were traveling across country and moving. I saw it again after 9/11. I think all of us felt a great sense of patriotism. And then that just waned and left us, right? But I will say, I do believe that there is a resurgence that's happening in patriotism now, and I'm sure it is because of the political front, and even more importantly, a reawakening, right? So, and I don't know what your religious beliefs are, but I'm really happy to see that that's taking place. So I do think that it's increasing a little bit, but man, I would love to see going down my neighborhood, every friggin' house having an American flag, Chris. So you're right on point.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that was honestly, it was the first thing I bought when I bought my house is I'm like, I got to fly the flag in front of it, unapologetically. And, my religious beliefs are, Luke, I believe in God and that's it. And I'm just unapologetic about that. And I feel like it's, from my perspective, I look at it like if somebody doesn't like me for my beliefs, and like, that's not my problem. That's their problem at the end of the day. And I think that, I look at a lot of the statistics, and I have a lot of friends that had served in the military, and I posed that question because I feel like it seems that a lot of guys feel like lost and like unaccepted when they come back in, because people and it's almost like there's that. I don't want to say it was like it kind of started in Vietnam and everything, when a lot of the soldiers who came back weren't openly accepted back, like there wasn't that warm welcome. Do you think that that's something, and you're talking about that resurgence, is that something that is maybe a point by the current administration and everything to really like, hey, we got to fix this? Because it's like, I look at it, when you look at the military, and I know some guys who are like, oh, I was never active, front lines, but it's like, if you look at it, it's a team from top to bottom, right? And if you look at the synergies with the supply chain, for example, in the industry that I work in, whether you're the driver, whether you're the one packing the boxes, whether you're the ones loading the truck, whether you're the one selling the product out there, every job is just as equally important in that, because nothing is done unless everybody works in unison. And I look at that as there's a lot of synergies with the military, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, everybody's job is equally important. The guy who's, fueling up the trucks that are out there that are transporting everything, the guys who are driving, because like my dad, he was in the Army. That's where he started driving trucks. He drove trucks in post-Nam in Germany and everything. And that's where he kind of fell in love with it. And hearing a lot of that stuff. And I look at it is it's like working inside of that team. Every job is as equally important. And then when you come back here and you come back stateside, it's like, I look at it as a country, nothing that we are able to do here is without the sacrifice of the men and women who serve this country. And I don't know, like, that's just the way that I really perceive a lot of this stuff. And that's where my just love and patriotism truly comes from, is it's like, without those men and women who are out there doing it, like, I don't have my voice that I do now. I don't have the ability to go and build this podcast now. So it's like, I feel like people need to start exercising that a lot more. But I feel like we also got to get back to those values that built this nation. From my perspective, is like, that's what's like slowly deteriorated over the years. But Luke, to your point, I see that coming back slowly. But I also feel like more and more people have to unapologetically speak their mind on how they stand, because I feel like it just takes one, right? And it's like, when I was, like I was saying, when I bought my house, and that the first thing I did was put the flag up. I'm not saying I caused this, but in my neighborhood, after that one small act, there was like 7 or 8 other homes that started flying their flag in front of their home now. And I feel like it just takes one. It takes one person to step up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you had the courage to display it. Others have always felt it, but they were scared and intimidated to display it, probably because of the political environment. But yeah, I mean, like, back to your point on, the military can't run with just all special operations folks, right? And we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but Cole and I, we were combat arms. So whether you're combat arms or non-combat arms, it doesn't mean anything. You cannot be effective and an effective fighting force if you don't have all the gears running in the same path, right? And that's to ultimately defeat the enemy, right? So it's whether you deploy, didn't deploy, combat arms, non-combat arms. None of that matters. It's to be proud in the fact that you're serving the American people. And one thing that I'm recognizing as I get older is to embrace the thank you, because I don't know about Cole, but I've not experienced that type of reception that happened in Vietnam. So I think it's important for us not to take it for granted. But I do think that action, even beyond the thank you, is really important. You mentioned the fact that there's something called troops to logistics, and there's troops to teachers, and there's these other programs that are kind of leaning towards our veterans and allowing them opportunities because, for the most part, we are performers. That's good. And then the other thing, of course, is mental well-being and acceptance of that, and men being able to talk to one another and unashamedly. So,
yeah, it's, and that's why we're doing the show today is with, it was, Master Sergeant John Murphy, and he was, he served with you guys and he served with my buddy, Matt Parker. And, it's like, I look at it you see the statistics that are out there with a lot of these things. And it's almost like, how did we let it get there? Like, how are we as a society not addressing these things in what we were really talking about yesterday? Like, yeah, they might be addressing it, but like, as the individual, what more can we do? Because it's like, not everybody has money to donate to some of these causes and everything else. And I get it, but like, how can you, like, it's like reaching out to your friends, unapologetically about it to get them to talk? Because I feel like, I don't have, PTSD from anything like that, but I also know what it's like to feel like nobody cares about you. Mm-hmm. And I think that every adult has been through that, and some with, some of their other experiences out there are those responses are elevated, but it's like, how do we break down those walls to really bring that open line of communication out there? I mean, Cole, from your perspective, I mean, obviously you served, you know a lot of guys, and we were you were talking about a situation yesterday about something that happened in your local community here in the last year. It's like, what more can people, as a society do? Because I feel like, again, it's like people just need that direction, I think, more than anything.
You're absolutely right. It's one of those things where, it starts with the individual. The individual needs to feel like they can talk about it. And when I was in, and especially when Sergeant Flatebo was in, it was kind of frowned upon to even talk about any of that stuff. We weren't, especially being combat arms, it was actually a deterrent to talk to anybody about this kind of stuff. And I think that's part of the problem, is some of us were so ingrained in that we just can't talk about it, or we feel like we can't talk about it. And it's hard for, I'll put it in my perspective. So at my job, or any job that I had after I got out, I seemed to pair up with the veterans that were also served and form a camaraderie there. It's just very hard for a civilian to actually understand some of the things that are going on with veterans and, issues like that. But don't be afraid to try to talk to somebody, especially if you know that they're off or something's going on. It is very important to talk, to try to get them the help they need, or to, just test to see what's going on and go from there. But I always encourage people to, if you see a veteran, go up and introduce yourself, talk to them. I actually just got done at the local elementary school here with my kid. They do a program every year, and that's the thing. They tell the kids to come talk to the veterans, to ask them what they do or what they did, just as an icebreaker to try to get people to talk.
Do you think that it is just like that conversation, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily need to be anything in depth, but it's just like feeling seen, more than anything. Do you think that that's one of those big icebreakers is, it's like they want to feel seen and heard, and, because that pride that comes along with serving, that a lot of the men and women that I know that served, they have that. So is it essentially as simple as just going up and a simple conversation with somebody?
That, I mean, it always helps. And, I personally know a lot of people that were veterans that just like to sit in that quiet corner and keep to themselves. And, it's amazing that it'd be super quiet and then somebody just goes up to them to talk to them. And, it's instantly, okay, then they start coming back to be part of the group or whatever. But it is, I mean, just having that opportunity to have somebody talk to you, and, you may not know that you need it, but the moment that it happens, you just start talking.
Yeah. And now, Luke, with that being said, is it something that, that I guess it's you walked in each other's shoes, so you understand it a little bit more, why it's important for maybe, other veterans to reach out to them, especially if they know that they're struggling a little bit, right? Like Cole said back in, some of his jobs where they always gravitated towards each other. Do you think it's more receptive when it's somebody who's walked in those shoes that are coming to talk to that individual about that you notice that's going to be struggling? Or is it as simple as like somebody just reaching out and just like feeling heard in that moment?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Chris, I definitely think it's a combination. I think, having your brothers and sisters who have served with you, who have, been there, done that, getting their ear is very positive. And then as well as anyone else opening up, if somebody's willing to lend an ear, then my goodness, take it, and have those discussions with them. I do think that in our time of, like when we both got out, 06, 07 timeframe, the stigmatism was still there to not talk about it, especially like when my father got out, in combat arms, there was no way that they were going to address any medical issues. Right. And I think that there's an uptick in that stigmatism kind of going away, and that it's a little bit more freely acceptable to have those discussions. And like we were mentioning yesterday, like they're even trying to do some type of psychedelic therapies and things that are outside of the box instead of the conventional over medication that doesn't seem to really provide much assistance. And like what I think is important too, Chris, is like I said, like we weren't special operations, we weren't special forces knocking down doors all day every day. But when I deployed, our specialty is field artillery, right? By the time I deployed OIF-3, there was not a need for multiple launch rocket systems. So what we did was protective service detail, right? And that's basically like secret service of a principal, and we had to, like Blackwater and things like that. So every day we were on the road. Every day it was like playing Russian roulette on the road. You had no idea what would take place. I think when we came back, we didn't realize the type of effects that would have. For 365 days, everything looks like a threat. But I do recognize that, I mean, there's like 3 or 4 brothers of mine that no matter what time of day or what it is, we will always answer the phone. And that's very helpful. So like Murphy, unfortunately, he was one of my soldiers in Korea, and he was an outstanding, stellar performer, and absolutely shocked to get the news that unfortunately he succumbed to his invisible wounds. I would have just have never guessed it, but I also lost contact with him, even in a day and age of social media. I kind of got off of all the social media, so I've lost contact with him, and it's just it's hurtful to know that, man, if we would have seen any indications or whatever, that I know for a fact Cole would have jumped there and had those discussions. I know for a fact that Parker would have, and most certainly I would have. So just sad for him and his family. And it's a small community that I served with over in OIF-3, maybe 130, and our family there, 6 of them have committed suicide upon returning. I mean, that's abnormal, right? That's not a normal statistic that you would hear from folks. So it definitely has impacts, but I do believe that the VA is trying to get better. I do believe that our brothers and sisters are not trying to hide it, especially in combat arms, that we need to rely on one another. So, yeah.
I look at it, you know, just talking about being out there on like patrol and stuff. And yeah, you might not have taken live fire, but it was the thought that it could happen at any given moment and how you mentally prepare yourself for trauma. Like the human body is an amazing thing, right? Where it can sense a lot of that stuff and it goes to try and protect itself. And then once you might be through some of those situations, you don't know how to turn, like, because when you're in a constant stressful environment, it's almost like you can kind of continue to seek out that stressful environment because like when you're familiar with it, you want to chase that familiarity. And I feel like, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a dude with a microphone who, tries to think critically about some of those things. I feel like when you're in that environment and then you're around people, right? You're in that team environment. And then, you get out of that. And again, like, most people don't, like, I would never be able to fully comprehend if talking to some of my buddies that served. And, I had a roommate of mine back in the day where he drove an IED vehicle where he just drove over minefields and got blown up. And it's just, I could never imagine going from that and then going back. Like, how could you talk to just a random person about that? Right. So it's like, I understand why some individuals might not want to like reach out to just a regular civilian like myself. But I also look at it as like, we all know the difference of like when somebody's not feeling it and feeling it that day, when they're not their normal self. And I feel like we are at a time where people are more open about talking about this stuff. And, maybe they're not out there publicly posting about it, but it's like, I also feel like it takes us as citizens of this country to demand more of the VA, to demand more of our elected officials to put these programs in place, because it's like, the way that I see it is how are some of these guys don't seem a little hypocritical about the roles that they're in right now, and they're kind of turning a blind eye to it, right? Like, how do we not have max funding for that stuff, but we have funding for everything else seemingly in the world? So it's like, I feel like our priorities are kind of backwards with a lot of this stuff, and it's almost like well, hey, just now you're back here, just take this pill, but it's like, it's not really working through it at the levels that I feel like it should be, right? Because again, whether you took live fire or not, like the environment alone, you're setting yourself up to be prepared to any given moment, something might pop off, and you got to be ready for that.
Oh yeah. I mean, you couldn't say it any better, Chris. I'm telling you, a lot of us who were in COIN, which is counterinsurgency operations, it's kind of like low scale compared to something like Ukraine, Russia, or going against a near peer adversary. But every day it was like, man, we just don't know. There was no forward line of troops, right? There was nobody in uniform. We were getting IED'd, EFPs, small arms fire every once in a while, but you never really saw the enemy in an urban environment like Baghdad or driving up to Tikrit like I was at. So yeah, for our federal government to be sending funds over to foreign countries for things as ridiculous as understanding circumcision and not then relaying those funds to what is ultimately 6% of the U.S. population are veterans. 1% is serving at any given time, right? 1% of the American population, maybe even less. For funds to not be readily available or continued outside of the box thinking for treatment or to break that stigmatism. A lot of folks wouldn't even, for instance, my example, I didn't even go to the VA for the first 10 years of getting out. Now that could be the combat arms mentality. I have a stepson who was combat wounded in Afghanistan, and he just recently did PTSD. He wouldn't even do it while at Walter Reed. He was in Walter Reed for a year. I have another stepson who was combat engineer. He didn't do any of that until recently. So that shows you that just by people understanding that help is out there, that it opens the doors more. Imagine if they put more funds to that and came up with better therapy, than what's provided. I think that would even further open the doors.
Do you think something like this should be mandatory, where it's almost a part of when you are, say your military service is ending via you're not renewing or anything like that, or you're at retirement? Do you think that it should be a mandatory thing where you come in and kind of do the evaluations and receive mandatory treatment for stuff like this?
I could take that one, Cole, if you want.
Go for it.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I will tell you this. When we got out, the time frame that we got out, it was maybe a day, maybe 2 days, and it was about a real quick run of completing your resume, and that was it. Since then, the military, at least the Army, I know, because I transitioned over to the Army from the Marine Corps, and then I was Army civil servant, and now an Air Force civil servant. So trying to hit all the branches, right? Well, now they start doing something that's called a transition assistance program that I believe starts a year out from retirement or end of service. So even if you're not retiring, Cole and I didn't retire. We did our 8 years or so and we got out. They're even offering that opportunity for them to do things that are known as skill bridge. So one of the things that you mentioned, what can we do as citizens? You can enroll in skill bridge if you're a business owner and have service members come and intern with you. I don't know all the left right limits of it, but I mean, like there's things like that you can do to assist. But that's what that transition assistance program allows, to let you start networking, potentially go into an internship that will then, I think they have a very good success rate of go into an actual job offer. And then the medical side of it, I think that they put you in contact with the VA during that. My wife, she ended up staying in and retired after 22 years of service. And she was field artillery, combat arms field artillery, the highest enlisted female in combat arms at that time, field artillery, not infantry or anything like that, because at that time they didn't allow that. But when she got out in 2015, she was already linked up with the VA and kind of knew what her compensation or what her what claims were approved or not. So I think it's getting better, but they can always advance that.
I also look at it as like from a career trajectory, like, yes, there are some great organizations that are out there, but I follow some pilots on social media, and it's like, I look at that, like how many former Air Force pilots and fighter pilots that were out there transition into flying for the airlines, right? Like, how are we not, like, one thing I would like to see more of is it's like when we have, veterans that are out there that have all of these skills that have been developed over their time of service, how is that not counting towards like anything when they come back? Like, why is there additional training needed at that point? Like, and I get it, on the job training is always going to be necessary. I'm a massive proponent of training, but it's like, why are we looking at somebody's 10, 15, 20-year military career and then having them come out and be like, oh, you don't have any experience? Actually, they have a ton of experience. How are we not leveraging that, more? Because I feel like what better could that do in the private sector, right? When we have more of that in there, in having that sense of purpose, right? Because again, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're signing up for jobs that you want to do in the military, right? Like if you want to work in logistics, you want to make sure that you're in logistics. And it's like, if you have that experience, why are we not leveraging that when you guys come out, is what I want to know.
I'll say this, when, before, when I got out, it was, a quick, you did a resume and you went into this tiny room where a medical professional looked over your medical file and said, hey, this is what it is. Now you're on your own. Having been field artillery and more specifically with the MLRS, multiple launcher rocket system, there wasn't much of that in the civilian world. So, and that was my big thing after getting out was, going in for the interviews, you have to explain to them exactly everything else that you did while you were there. And some people get it, some people don't. But soldiers in general have a wealth of experience in any number of things. that just doesn't translate just to your job title. But it's one of those things that you just have to try to figure out a way for civilians to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and let's say that they are transportation, and then it could be transferable to something like logistics or their supply officer or whatever it is.
Yep.
Then I think you got a great point, Chris. Then some companies should not expect them to come in at an entry level. Give them credit where credit is due, right? Especially if they've maintained a budget of multiple millions of dollars and equipment. Then look at that and think, wow, this is somebody who can handle responsibility, and let them be successful for you and your company. And then as far as retirees go, if they're a retiree, then something even further is that you can maybe increase their compensation because they won't require the medical and dental, right? They'll have that from their service. So another way that you could do that is just maybe tack on an additional salary. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And, guys, I really appreciate you joining me today. And I look at it as like, I hope more conversations spawn from this, right? Like, I hope more individuals out there, like, this is that catalyst that makes them more comfortable to maybe go out there and seek help. But I also, have a challenge to everybody out there who's listening to this live or is going to hear this on the replay, right? Like, we have to be more accepting of the fact that, like, sometimes people's wounds might not be in a physical sense. It's in a mental sense. And you need to be willing to have a conversation, check in with your friends, right? Like, it goes a long way just to send a simple text to somebody, asking them how they're doing and really following up with that, because it's like, how many more, how many more are we going to have to sit here and see before, like, what's that thing I like that's going to actually make people take this stuff seriously? Because I feel like it's not brought at the level of urgency that it should be out there. Like, the statistics are alarmingly high, and that needs, like, that it to me is enough to where it's like you have to go out there, and reach out to people, speak with them, and just check in with your friends, and I feel like we got to kind of come back to that, like, that sense of community that used to be a very prevalent part, at least of my upbringing, right? And I know I was brought up in small town USA, and there was a sense of community. You checked in on your neighbors, you wanted to help your neighbors in the event that they needed it. And I want to see more of that come back. And I truly feel like conversations like this are going to really hopefully drive that in that direction. So Luke, Cole, thank you guys so much for joining in today. That's going to be it for today, you guys. And you guys know what to do from here. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang. Window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the